Hi, how are you doing? Welcome to another video. This is Mr. Chow from EnglishTuition.org. Now, today's video is for students who are going to gain admission into junior colleges taking their A-levels. So a lot of the first year students, they have some doubts about the project work, which is considered a H1 subject, which they are supposed to finish by the end of JC1. And understandably, they have some legitimate concerns. So here are some tips that I think you may find useful. So as mentioned, the project work is considered a H1 subject for students who are taking the A-levels, and each year groups of students, about 4 to 5, okay, they are given 2 vague topics, and they're supposed to identify the challenges and conduct research to come up with the solutions. Now, the group of students 4 to 5, they are students who are within your class, and students do not have a choice, right, as to who you are supposed to be group members with, and this will be decided by your teachers. And there are a few deliverables. So the ideas from each group are to be presented in a main written and typed up report with a maximum word count of 3,000 words, and each group member is supposed to do an oral presentation. The presentation takes about 5 minutes for each student, and individual reports that contains insights and reflections, which are about 500 words each, are also required to be submitted. Now, the project work takes place throughout the entire JC1, and students are assessed by the school teachers, and sometimes there may be moderators around. Don't be put off by the moderators. Just go there and do your job. You do fine. Now, a few groups will do the oral presentation together, and so there will be an audience, right, during the OP. So JC1 students are, I understand that you may be a bit worried or anxious because you are not sure of the demands of the project work, and here are some tips on how to do well in project work. Right, first tip, get to know your group well. By that, I don't mean that you have to go around to become a social butterfly, right, and then spend a lot of time socializing with your friends without doing any productive work. So you can usually get to know your group members just by sending messages, doing group meetings online, and during face-to-face meetings, right? But the end goal here is that during the meetings you should try to identify the useful strengths in each member, because some of you may already be good in something that is very useful in a project work, right? And the key strengths are computer knowledge. You'll be required to work with computers quite a bit, research and writing. Some people can type faster, can do research better, right? Strong in language and grammar, right? So you don't have to actually go back and fix all the spelling mistakes, sentence structures and stuff, so that will save a lot of time. Good knowledge of current affairs, right? Some of the students may already have this habit of reading news on a daily basis, and they will be very good at coming up with the ideas, right? Creativity and evaluation. So sometimes these strengths are not very apparent during the first or the second meeting, and it may take some time for you to identify these strengths among your group members, right? So find out who is good at which area and then share the workload accordingly, right? So people who are good in computers work more on the using the Microsoft applications, right? People who are good in research, will do more research and so on and so forth, right? Second tip, choose a topic that is familiar to you, right? The topics given in the question paper are usually very general in nature. Okay, that's the intentional, right? But that can be good or bad, right? It is good because it gives students the freedom to choose almost anything that they wish to write about. It is bad because it does not give enough direction and focus. You can work smart by choosing a topic that you are already very familiar with, or you have a strong interest in that subject already. So as you already know the subject very well, you can spend less time on research. Your teacher may also like your recommendations better because you seem to know the subject matter well. And more importantly, you're much more motivated to want to work on the project because you already have a strong interest in it. So I also want to add that while you're choosing the topic, try to choose something that is different from others, something that is unique. So pick a niche instead of a topic that is or subject that everybody knows about, and that will increase your chances of getting the topic approved by your teachers. Tip number 3, choose a possible GP topic, right? And some students do not realize that there's some overlapping when it comes to GP. I teach GP, right? And project work. So both require research and both require examples, evidence to support arguments and propose solutions, right? Both require similar thinking skills such as evaluation. So for these reasons, students should use project work to choose a possible GP topic that they may be interested in tackling. So that way they are killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Tip 4, pick multiple topics in one meeting. So I'm going to assume that this is one of your earlier meetings where you're supposed to pick a topic. So many JC students, the JC1 students, they are surprised at how much time they end up spending on project work, right? That's because topics get rejected over the course of the year, and they have to go back to the drawing board to start from square one, right? And that is very common. Okay, taking into consideration the tips that I have already given, try to come up with one long list of possible topics, maybe even up to 8 or 10, right? And then rank your choices and then submit the chosen topics to your teachers one at a time. And usually after about 4 or 5 topics, you should get an approval from your teachers. Tip number 5, understand the specific requirements. You don't have to worry so much about this because you will be taught about these requirements during project work lessons, and I believe some schools also have specialized teachers who are actually posted to these schools specifically to help students with project work, and you can actually set up consultation appointments with them. Having said that, some students felt that it was not practical because sometimes the teacher leaves schools early and very difficult to get appointments, and that kind of thing. But I think from the part of the students, you should be very clear about your deliverables, what you're supposed to do right from the very start. And all students should learn how to work with computer applications such as your MS Word, Excel, PowerPoint, because these skills are considered indispensable, right? Because everyone needs to submit their own individual report and work on the oral presentation. So try to work on these skills even if you're not savvy, and they become very useful when you enter tertiary education. Tip number 6, conduct comprehensive research. You probably need the guidance of a teacher on this. Ideally, the group should have a good awareness of existing solutions for the problems that you have identified, right? So do your research and find out what is already out there, right? Don't try to reinvent the wheel, right? If you don't do your research properly, you might end up coming up, suggesting a lot of solutions, but then these solutions may already have been implemented and tried before and have failed, right? And then you are not aware of it. Okay, so that does not reflect well on the students. Case studies and examples may be from Singapore or even beyond our local shores, so you can look for examples or case studies that are from other countries as well. And students may then assess the current situation and make evaluations. They can also propose solutions, and this is to be guided by the teacher as well. Tip number 7, students should always try to contribute and don't blame your group mates, right? I keep hearing students refer to their group mates as slackers or free riders, right? This is bound to happen in group work, even in real life, and sometimes there are circumstances that are beyond our control, right? For example, a group mate may fall sick, right? Or he may be have gone on an overseas trip for a prolonged period of time, and it's beyond his control. All right, so it doesn't help if we are pointing fingers at each other, and then assigning the blame. Okay, and also being reminded that it is always easy to point fingers at other people, right? No one will see himself or herself as a slacker. It is always that someone else in the group. It is not advisable to assign blame because it brings down the overall morale of the group and causes conflict, right? In other words, it's not helpful. So learn to be tactful and ask constructive questions like, how can I help? Or should we seek advice as a group, right? Then the whole group can move forward as a result. You can also try to avoid the free rider issue by working on Google Docs. This will create a trail of activities that are recorded just in case you want to set up a group meeting and to point out who has been doing what. So at least there's a trail of evidence and everybody can rely on that. some students think that it is possible to file irregularity reports based on students, in other words complaints, right, based on students who slack and who are not doing their part. But I believe that my recommendation is to avoid that route because it's quite a hassle. There's a formal procedure to do it, and it's not very polite as well. So just focus on how to get the job done, and if you need help, just go to your teacher, right? Which leads us to tip number 8: seek help early, right? In the event that the project is stalling, right, for whatever reason, and you don't know how to move forward, right, don't be afraid to ask for help, right? Seeking help may get the cogs back into motion, right? For example, if you notice that a group of groupmates or a couple of groupmates, sorry, are not particularly cooperative, right? They fail to come to meetings, etc., and you have tried your best to rectify the situation, then perhaps it is best to involve the teacher, right? In other cases, if you run out of ideas, you may need to seek the advice of some of the senior students or even the private tutors to see how you can move forward, right? That's always better than getting stuck and don't know how to move forward. Okay, next tip number 9: when you're working in a group, it's always best to exercise patience and tolerance at all times, right? Understand that the final preparations for the project work typically happen around promo exams, right? And some students may also be taking other H1 subjects like mother tongue. Okay, so everyone is under a lot of pressure, right? So hence, you should always try to be patient and tolerant. Flaring up, getting angry will not help to speed up the progress, right? The deadlines may look something like this, right? End of term 1, okay, you need to identify the problem. That means the first term of JC1. Okay, and then after that, from term 2 all the way to term 3, you will be submitting multiple versions of the written report. Typically it's around 4 to 5 versions, okay, until it has been approved, right? So it's draft after draft, and this is the part that students complain can be very time consuming. And the written report submission, okay, is usually from mid to end October based on the national deadlines, and that's when the promos take place. Oral presentation rehearsals will start near the end of term 4, and then the actual assessment will start somewhere around mid-November based on national deadlines again. And then finally, you have the individual report, which is the insights and reflections, and that need to be submitted by mid-November, and then you're done with project work, right? Next tip: always practice active communication. I must stress the word active, right? Always be ready to communicate with your group members. You can do so by messaging each other regularly to check on the progress. Passive group members will only dampen everyone's spirits and somehow become a burden. If you disappear from the group chat, for example, for a very long period of time, no one knows that you're doing any work, right? That if you have been researching but you're not talking to your members, no one knows that you're doing research, right? So talk and talk more. Tip number 11: always strive to develop the skills, right? Make no mistake, the project work can be a demanding subject that requires a variety of skills, and students who are shy, introverted, or who have poor organizational skills will struggle at this subject. And don't forget, right, students are supposed to do oral presentations. If you don't speak well, you may end up getting a poor score, and students who hate working with computers may create substandard PowerPoint slides and end up messing up the presentation. But the good news is you have 1 year to prepare for the assessment, so make sure you recognize your weaknesses and start developing your skills early. So for example, you have this public speaking fear, right? So what do? The oral presentation is 5 minutes and you're speaking in front of an audience. So maybe you can get your friends to practice together, practice with your parents, speak in front of a mirror, whatever works for you, right? Just keep doing it, keep practicing over the course of the year, so that by the end of the year you are ready, right? Anyway, you will need these skills in your tertiary education. And last tip that I have, okay, for this video is you can always practice with the audience, right? You will know who the other groups will be in the assessment in advance, right? So get in touch with those schoolmates, okay, and practice in advance, right? Come together, sit together, and try to engage the audience, right? So if you know what each other will be talking about during the oral presentation, I think that will help with the overall flow of the oral presentation, and that's beneficial to everyone. And finally, I have some miscellaneous tips. The marks are not awarded for slides, right? And although they can help to spice up your oral presentation, so I mean, what happens if your computer laptop runs out of battery, right? And then the PowerPoint slides goes away. So does that mean that you will fail your OP? No, that's not the case, right? So the marks are awarded based on your oral presentation. So technically speaking, even if something wrong goes on with your slides, you can still get a distinction, an A. And you may also be nervous, right? You start to stutter, but just make sure that you keep your focus and deliver your content at all costs. No matter what you do, don't just keep quiet the entire time. So according to the rubrics, marks are awarded based on your overall delivery. Okay, so try to appear confident and engage the audience as much as possible, right? When answering questions, students who are able to think on their feet will again gain an advantage over their peers. It is possible to get an A, right? Even when your group members get a B, simply because of the difference in the oral presentation. Now, if you feel that the Q&A is not your strength, you can overcome this by spending more time to prepare the answers to a list of FAQs in advance. And one final note, from previous statistics, most students score a B or an A for project work. So many JCs even boast of AB scores as high as 100% for the entire cohort, right? So as long as you do your part, you should do well in the subject. All right, that's all I have for you in this video. And by the way, I teach GP lessons. So if you're keen in signing up for GP lessons, simply send me a WhatsApp message. My contact details will be on my website. And with that, we've come to the end of the video. I wish you the best of luck in your project work, and hopefully you get your distinction. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe. Bye bye.